Hi travel friends, it is Stoof here from Travel SzN. Welcome back and welcome to our weekend adventure in Grand Teton National Park. In early June 2024, we visited Jackson, Wyoming again, and this time Nate and I brought along my mom and my brother Nico. It was my mom and brother's first time ever seeing this magical place in person, so we visited many of those popular overlooks and viewpoints in Grand Teton National Park. If you're planning your own trip to Grand Teton National Park, this video is going to have some helpful information for you, so stay tuned. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to our channel for more travel and nature-related content. Alright, kicking off our weekend adventure in the Tetons. Although Nate and I have been to the Tetons several times, I always drove out to the national park. It was my first time flying into the Jackson Hole Airport, and it did not disappoint. Everything about this plane ride was fantastic for me. I had a window seat on the right side of the plane, and as we began our descent into Jackson, I had a perfect view looking down at all of the lakes, rivers, and the stunning peaks of the Teton Range as the sun was setting behind them. This is something I will never forget. It was such a beautiful experience flying into Jackson. After landing, we hopped off the plane, which you do outside, then walked into the airport, gathered our belongings in our rental vehicle, and we drove south into the town of Jackson. Here we checked into our little Airbnb we stayed at, a cozy little cabin along the creek. The next morning, I showed my family around the town of Jackson. We snapped photos at some of those famous spots like the Cowboy Bar and the Elk Antler Archway in Town Square. After briefly looking around the town and shops, we headed north into the national park, where we made our first stop at Mormon Row. Mormon Row, formerly known as the town of Grovant, was a settlement of Mormons from the Salt Lake region to this area in the late 1890s. In this historic district, you can find the John Moulton Barn and the T.A. Moulton Barn, two popular photograph spots in the park. Next, we hopped back in the vehicle and drove north to the Snake River Overlook. The Snake River Overlook is one of my favorite viewpoints in the park, and it has inspired a few of my landscape paintings. After this overlook, we continued north to Oxbow Bend, which features stunning views of an oxbow bend of the Snake River with jaw-dropping Mount Moran in the background. This is a particularly great spot to watch for wildlife in Grand Teton National Park. While we were there, we saw a heron, some elk, and a coyote. At lunchtime, we drove over to Leek's Marina and grabbed some pizza from Leek's Pizza. This pizza is delicious. I highly recommend this spot if you are visiting Grand Teton. I also sat at a bench along the marina there with a view of Jackson Lake and the Tetons and did some plein air painting. Next, we made a quick stop at the very impressive Jackson Lake Dam. The primary purpose of the Jackson Lake Dam right now is to provide a storage pool for the Minidoka project, which basically just provides irrigation water from the Snake River for farmers in Idaho. On Friday evening, we made our way back to our Airbnb, grabbed some food, and headed over to the Grand Teton 5K by Vacation Races. The race route was set up in the nearby town of Wilson, Wyoming, and it still had some pretty decent views of the Teton Range in the distance as you were running the course. Nico, who is not a runner, really pushed himself and finished in third place for his age group, so congrats Nico, you did a great job. We wrapped up that evening back at our Airbnb and watched the waterbirds and a beaver along the creek near our cabin. The next morning, Nate participated in the Vacation Races half marathon. The rest of us stood by and cheered him on that morning. And then after the race, we headed up to Jenny Lake, where we took the boat across the lake to do some hiking. The boat ride is $12 per way, and you can cut 2 miles off of your hike if you want a quick and easy way to get to the other side of the lake. From this other end of the lake, we hiked less than a mile uphill to the viewpoint of Hidden Falls. After checking out Hidden Falls, we continued our hike up to Inspiration Point, which is a higher elevation viewpoint looking down at Jenny Lake and the surrounding area looking away from the Teton Range. This is definitely one of the most popular trails in Grand Teton National Park, and you are likely to see lots of other people and ground squirrels on this hike. We were able to hop on one of the last boats going back around 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Keep in mind, the line for the boats gets longer in the afternoon as you get closer to that last boat that will be coming around 4 p.m. So make sure you give yourself time to be back in line so you can make it back via the boat if those are your plans for the day. We started our Sunday morning bright and early with a sunrise photo shoot to share an announcement with everyone. Here it is.
Hey travel friends, it's Stoof and Nate from Travel SzN, and we just wanted to announce that our next great adventure is coming in December 2024.
So Nate and I are happy to announce that we are expecting a baby girl in December of 2024. We decided to name her Sierra after the Sierra Nevada mountains. I want to extend a big thank you to my brother Nico, who helped capture all of our photos for this announcement. Here's how some of our pregnancy announcement photos turned out. We did most of the photo shoot at Schwabacher Landing, which is a great spot to watch the sunrise in Grand Teton National Park. This is a dammed section of the river, so the water is calm here, and sometimes you can get some really beautiful reflections of the mountain range. Our next stop after wrapping up that photo shoot was to head to the beautiful Jackson Lake Lodge, where we had a sit-down breakfast in their dining area with large windows overlooking a massive meadow area with Mount Moran and the other peaks in the background. Next, we had a brief stop at String Lake. This is one of the more shallow lakes in the park, and because of that, the water temperatures are slightly warmer and you can swim in String Lake. Although I can't recommend going out there and swimming in early June when Nico did. We squeezed in one final hike to the Phelps Lake Overlook, located in the south section of the national park. This is a moderate rated hike that takes you to an overlook of Phelps Lake. After completing this out and back trail, we had a little bit of time to kill before we needed to be back at the airport, so we stopped at the Craig Thomas Visitor Center. This visitor center has a help desk with rangers in there that can answer any questions you might have. It has a gift shop, restrooms, a topographic model of the national park, and lots of information about the geology, the nature, and the history of this national park. Before we knew it, it was time to head back onto the airplane and make it home to Pennsylvania. This was a wonderful long weekend trip with family. We stopped at some of my favorite sites in Grand Teton National Park, and I know that my mom and brother loved seeing these mountains, and we all can't wait to go back. As I mentioned, I've been to Grand Teton National Park several times, and I have other videos related to this national park. I have some linked in the description under this video if you want to check those out. Also, if you have questions about this national park or visiting the Jackson, Wyoming area, you can leave a comment under this video and I will answer that to the best of my knowledge. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed our vlog of our long weekend trip in Grand Teton National Park. Have a wonderful day and happy travels!